So we are about to have a presentation of Dennis and Konstantin. Dennis has worked as a head of org dev at Avito for almost 6 years now, if I'm correct. He has launched OKRs at Avito in 2016 with his top management team. And he is responsible for the OKR process and tool development. And Konstantin, he is an expert in OKR and enterprise agility. He has been working with OKR implementations for the last 3 years, and he's an organizer of the OKR Russia conference. So take it away, guys.
Thank you, Sarun. I hope I speak your name correctly.
Sarun, I'm actually Lithuanian, so I speak a little bit Russian as well.
Okay, great. And our colleague, Sergey Rogachev, to this room. He kindly asked to review our video. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's start. Sarun introduced me. In short, I have 3 years of OKR implementation in mid-size and large-size companies. And Denise, please introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm head of organizational development team in Avito, and Avito is the biggest Russian horizontal classified product, which actually is in terms of size in the world. So I'm responsible for the projects related to org design, culture, and governance, and I'm responsible for the OKR process and tools in Avito right now.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay, our talk will be in 2 parts. My part will be overview of what's happening with OKR in Russia. I will tell you the timeline, how OKR was started in Russia on the first cases like Avito, and then how this market and the need of OKR implementation increased. I show you some cases, 3 or 4 cases, and then we discuss actual benefits what company get in terms of business and what expectations they do have on the start of OKR implementation. And Dennis, my co-speaker, will tell you the most challenging and the most largest OKR case. It's Avito company. And this case is important to mention because it's a really case of optimization OKR approach through time. Okay, let's start. At this slide, you may see the companies that implemented OKR in Russia. As you can see, about 60% of them are doing IT products and sell them. But also there is about 40% of the companies, they're doing some heavy industries, like manufacturing, like house building, and some professional services, like food retail, and banking services, financial services. If we turn this picture into the timeline, we could see that the first pioneers of the OKR in Russia was Avito and Reich, a company, their worldwide operation companies. And then local companies like Regru, like Koshelek and Semrush joined them in this wave. And currently we have about 30 cases, not all of them depicted on this slide. But this year, in 2020, we decided that this amount of cases are enough to run the first annual conference that we called OKR Russia. And we launched it just in the COVID start in April 2020. And the interesting fact that only OKR inside the organizational and program committee helped us to run this conference. We hesitated a lot to change the date of conference or to cancel it at all, but we decided to move it just in 1 month from offline format to online format, and we didn't lose any participants. Everyone was converted, and we ran all workshops in the online, but it was really hard time to recreate the conference during 1 month from one format, from offline classical format to the online. And I think only OKR helped us. We believe that OKR gives you the focus. And I think the first insight I'd like to share is that OKR is a great anti-crisis tool, because it has a focus, it has a transparency, and it's involve you to generate new ideas how to reach your objectives and key results. Okay, now please let me share some cases. At the left side on the yellow stickers, you will see the expectations that these companies had on start. And at the right side with the CM colored stickers, you will see their real business results. Okay, the first case is a Glebstroy, is a Russian house building company in comfort and business class segment. So their expectations at starts were, they would like to switch the goal setting and management from personal level to the team level. So their idea was to create the business, the small business unit that could solve the issues, that could solve the challenges, and management could run all the stuff like settings goals and management only at the team level. So they decided to skip the personal level at all. As you can imagine, the whole business process, how to build the house, is quite complicated. So they needed and they used OKR for horizontal alignment, to align all the departments that will build the houses in terms of goal settings. And also they would like to make a transparent priorities to align all departments for the business goals. And here you can see what they get after the OKR implementation. They get a plus 28% in efficiency year by year. They launch, due to this focus that OKR gives, the first Russian internet apartment store, and sold 800 apartments in this online store. And they accelerated their building process such way so they could give the keys to the end customer 3 months before the planned date. That's a really cool results. The second case is a fintech company that is specialized in online credit systems. They call it RoboFinance. And their key challenge was that our Bank of Russia, our compliance regulator, came to one day and told them that loan rate has to be decreased 2 times. And that was really stressful for this company. Their business model worked very well before the loan rate was at the previous level, and it had to be it had to imagine how the company gets even 1% of the profit with new requirements of the bank regulator. So they used OKR to consolidate all departments to the innovation and to the generation idea how to run the business in the new conditions. And their final results, so their business results, that not only they turn back to the same level of profitability, this boosting innovation helped them to build even more profit than before. You can see their results. They increased the sales growth in about channel, and they managed to accelerate the customer care service up to 2 times. And the third case is the manufacturer of the steel doors. They started implementing OKR in 2018, and at that time there was some stagnation in Russian markets, and no one really needed a new steel door, because it's not a product of the first need. So everyone was thinking twice or even 3 times, do we really need a good door, or we can buy something cheap at for example, China market? How did they use OKR? They used it for rapid response to the market change. They wanted to focus on the key projects focus on the key business outcomes of these projects, and they want to engage, almost like a previous case, RoboFinance, they want to engage people into innovation and into generation new idea. So all these expectations lead to these examples, to these benefits. They increased revenue up to 3 times. This revenue is calculated among all of these products. They are doing standard doors, and they are doing customized doors, customized for particular customers. And in this segment of the customized doors, they saw exponential growth of the orders. That's really cool. It's great results. And also interesting fact that before OKR, they used quite static and quite complicated tool that is named Hoshin Kanri. It came from the East. They use it for several years and understand that they need something dynamic, something simple, and OKR perfectly fits that idea. And the final case is the bank Agoros. It's a regional network of the regional banks, and they had 2 steps of their OKR implementations. At the first step, they want to create a horizontal alignment between business products, between back office, and between compliance departments. They motivated employee through decentralization of the goal settings and get some results of them. Mostly these results could be measured through motivation and customer-centric metrics. But then Dmitry, the CEO and the owner of the bank, made a second step of the OKR implementation. They dig into unit economy, found some growth points of their business, and accelerated this growth point also through engaging the people through question, how could we explore, how could we extend the benefits of these growth points? So finally, year by year, they ended with a 40% up profit, and they went up in the bank rating for a 28 position. That also are great results. At the right in the corner, okay, it's in the right corner. At every case, you can see the link into YouTube and into the article about that cases. Of course, using the auto translation, you will need to translate it from Russia to your native language. So, resuming all these cases and other cases from conference OKR Russia, I'd like to mention key things that I'd like to share in my presentation, the first part. First one, if your business is young and your industry is young, OKR could be a tool for minimal viable bureaucracy. If you have a mature company, mainly OKR in Russia is used for optimization. And a few companies use it for business growth, like Bank Agoros. And if you own a major IT product companies, OKR could be a really core process. It could be a heart of your governance framework. And I would like to Dennis to turn on his microphone. Avito company is an example of the major IT product companies. And Dennis will tell you about how could OKR optimizations lead to the such situation that OKRs become a part of the governance framework. I'm stop sharing my presentation. Dennis, please share your part.
Yeah, you see it now, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. Thanks, Kostya. I'll continue your talk with a case of OKR adoption and evolution at Avito. And actually, our way was a way of making OKR a heart of a whole governance framework for our company. So I would like to start with the very beginning. In 2016, we moved to a stage where our product and tech organization reached 100 people in headcount, and we had not enough transparency, and centralized management stopped working due to this size of product and tech organization. And we had to run a big organizational transformation, which consisted of moving to cross-functional units, going agile, introducing OKRs and corporate values. And actually, it was a success for our company. It was a rather big transformation, and it continued for, I believe, 1.5 years. But still, we are growing. We are a very healthy and successful company. This is a picture of our CEO presenting the start of this transformation back in 2016. So actually, we understood that OKR, by the way, is quite a general purpose framework, which works for a lot of different cases. So you could actually use it for various time horizon, teams and individuals, different departments, and even various levels of uncertainty. Yes, just like Costa said, if you are working in a case, OKR is more useful, but still you could use it for times when chaos is low. So again, this is just an illustration of us. I believe it's March or April when we moved to our homes and our OKR setting session moved online. So moreover, you can even split and disassemble OKRs into parts and introduce them separately, not call them OKRs, and it could be a great life hack for you to introduce this system to a company. But how could we make sure that it is not just a brick which could be placed in any kind of wall or building, but actually a heart of your organization? So it connects all the important parts of it, and it is really living and beating. Our solution would be the following. So you have to align OKR system with various organizational elements. It's one. Then we are connected via time horizons. It's two. And finally, align it with key processes. I will try to give you a brief overview of our case in Avito. So this was our solution, which helped us to optimize OKRs and make it an essential part of our company. Part one, again, organizational elements. Let's start with culture. You could easily notice that some factors, some cultural factors could help you boost OKR adoption. And these are uncertainty adoption, ambitious engagement of your team members, meritocracy, and all these factors are followed by a statement that actually agile culture is a great enabler and catalyst of OKR adoption, while dictatorship as a culture is actually a blocker. And if you have such a culture, then it will be quite hard for you to introduce OKRs in your company. If we are done with culture, then we could think about org design. And actually, org design could be represented by authority structure or responsibility structure, or actually there is a third way to talk about org design, and it is analytical model of business. So it is a representation in terms of metrics and key calculations between these metrics. So in Avito, we have this type of analytical model of our business. It's called metrics tree, and actually it is a real tree with some important business metrics in its root. And then it goes further and further till the very low-level metrics, which are owned by actual specific teams which live in our organization, is this cross-functional units. So the way we use it is the following. We use it to validate org design, so you could check if your teams are structured right. You could use the whole tree as OKR structure, so you could use it to connect different levels of OKRs. And you could cut its tree, its root, and make it a financial model structure. And it will be a link to talk about budgeting process, which is one of the elements of key processes part. This is just a helicopter view over our metrics tree in Avito, just to introduce you to its scale. Next organizational element is planning. It's quite easy to understand that goals are where do we go, and plans are how will we go there. And there are some ideas about this. So one is doesn't have any meaning without the other. So you could use just plans or just goals, but it will be quite hard to live with them. It's actually better to start from goals. So again, quite easily understandable, quite obvious, but you could start from plans and make goals out of your plans, and it's a working way, but again, it's better to do it vice versa. Planning is a great way to check your goals for feasibility. So while planning, you could understand if it's actually possible to reach your goals or not. And finally, the border between them is quite thin. So in some cases, plans could become goals, and goals could become plans if we go up or down in terms of time horizon, and so on and so on. Alignment with strategy, very simple ideas. Again, strategic goals are a root of OKR goal tree, and strategic bets are a root of roadmap tree, and it's part of goals and planning. And again, in terms of organizational development theory, strategy, culture, and structure mutually define and complement each other. It's very important to understand when you are working on one of its parts, and if you are working with OKRs. So if you want your OKR system to be living, if you want to have it as a heart of your organization, you have to properly align it with your culture, strategy, and structure. Next part, time horizons. Actually, we have a quite interesting tool for product management in Avito. We have it for middle-term horizon, and it is called product portfolio management. So it is a tool that helps us to manage all our middle-term product initiatives. It is a part of our planning process, and again, using these initiatives, you could build your short-term goals, and you could think about long-term. You could connect it to long-term strategic goals. This is just an illustration, and the final part is about key processes. So C&B processes, compensation. Yep. KPI is much more about compensation than OKR, but you still live in a situation when you have some compensation process and you have to somehow connect it to OKR. You have to make a clear picture for your employees. So if we are talking about a team level, then you actually start by ensuring that goals are good, meaning that they are not they are achievable, and they are not an easy ones. And then if your goal setting is adjusted properly and teams set the right goals, right level of goals, then you are just have to decide if you are ready to pay for that much for these results. So you could calibrate and decide this team costs us this much and it provides us these results. Then what should we decide if we are ready to pay this much? And if we're talking about individual level, then there are some different solutions. So you could either remove all connections, and it is possible if you have no bonuses at all, or if you are ready to decide to remove them. Another decision is to connect it to a higher level of OKRs. So you could tell that people will receive bonuses depending on company level OKRs. It will be actually an additional motivation for them to work together on the company level. And finally, you could build an indirect connection, and you could use OKRs as just one of many factors. And it is the case we use in Avito to connect properly individual level compensation with OKRs. some other key processes like budgeting. We talked about analytical model business, metric tree, and I told that if we cut its root, then we could use it as a structure of an operational and financial model. And it is actually the connection with this process. And then you have all these evaluations going both top down from market evaluation, starting from it, and bottom up from team inputs, from their commitments and their goals. And actually to connect them is the real art of OKR alignment. So this is about connecting all these goals going top down and bottom up. And the final process I'd like to talk about is resource allocation. And again, it is built on a thought I provided earlier. So you could allocate and reallocate resources based on the value that team brings to you. And you could evaluate this value using OKRs and just looking at them if they are adjusted properly. So the final idea, and actually the main idea of the evolution of optimization of OKRs at Avito. To make it a real working system, you have to align it with key elements of organization. You have to build and connect it through various time horizons. And you have to connect it to the key processes that are working in your organization. And then you will have a whole holistic connected system, which could be called a governance framework in our case. So it's just an illustration when we tried to depict everything on one board. And it looks quite complex, but we still see it this way. That's all from my part, and I'm not sure. I believe we have something like 2 minutes for Q&A. But, yep.
Yes, we have exactly 2 minutes. So does anyone have a question?
I answered the questions from Yelena in the chat. Yelena, if you have an additional one.
What was the biggest lesson learned from you as Gunner?
Thanks.
I'd like to start. Then for me, actually, the biggest lesson was that OKR system is not enough. It's just, again, the main idea of this part, that OKR system by itself is just a brick, and you want to be to move it to a state of a beating heart. Costa, your opinion?
Well, for me, working with a large size company, so biggest challenge is changing the mindset of the top management.
In the meanwhile, I could answer another question from Lena Zhukova about how does it feel to have 1,500 people working with OKRs, and actually it's quite fun, and but the thing you have to manage is the complexity of different levels of OKRs. So if you have that many people, then easily you should break them into various levels and into various parts of organization. And then each part of organization could live with its own OKR sheet, and it's quite easy and important and useful for them. But then as an owner of the whole system, you have to make sure that all these parts are connected between each other. So you have to align it horizontally, you have to align it vertically, you have to introduce something like this metric tree to connect all these parts, and this could be a challenge if you start it from scratch. But I believe when we started in 2016, then it was less than 1,000 people in the whole Avito. So it was a bit easier for us back then.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I see another question about tool for OKRs in Avito. Currently, we are still using Google Sheets. We were thinking about other tools, but for now, we are sticking to Google Sheets and thinking about moving to our own tool, because we want to connect it with other important, again, key processes like strategic planning and this product portfolio management, so that all these elements would be interconnected between each other. And for example, we already have a tool for performance management for individual employees, and we want to make another connection between the OKR tool and this performance review tool, so that it would be easy to see what are the performance results for the team that an employee working in. So our choice is to make all this pool of tools inside.
And you mentioned that you were during agile transformation, right? So you use Scrum, Kanban, and such some tools for, I don't know, team backlogs, item managing. And how do you connect OKRs with these backlogs?
Yeah, sure. In the most team, in the majority of team, we use Scrum. So they just try to connect sprint goals to OKRs, and they inject reviewing of OKR goals into one part of the Scrum process. So they do it either on retro or during demo. They show what is their progress on OKRs. I should probably stop sharing.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Hello, my name is Arian. I was wondering if you have company level OKRs. Are teams working with the company level OKRs, or do they set their own team OKRs?
Yeah, if we're talking about Avito, then we have a hierarchy of 3 levels of OKRs, and it's company level, then it is function or market level, and finally it's team level. So team have mostly outputs on the level with the minor part of outcomes. And if we are going to the upper level, then we have much more outcomes at these levels. So again, they are all interconnected, but team work with their own level of OKRs.
Okay. So then teams can both have output and outcome OKRs.
Yeah, sure. Sure. And it depends actually on their level of maturity. If they're mature enough and their leaders are mature enough, then they could have more outcomes on their plate.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I had a question. My name is Arun. Do you set OKRs from a longish term perspective and come down to a quarter? So for example, as an organization, do you set an objective or a goal for, say, strategic goal for 3 years, and then come down to 1 year, and then come down to the quarter and do what you have to do? Or do you pretty much strictly look at a year and a quarter? Or what do you recommend?
Actually, it was a long run for us. It was 4 years already, and I believe that out of these 4 years, the 3 first years were just in a quarterly type of goal setting. So we had this quarterly OKRs, and we had a long-term financial or strategic model, which we tried to connect on yearly time horizon. But now we start introducing annual goals and also strategic goals, and to connect them with each other. So I believe that by default, OKRs are quite an agile methodology, and so by default, usually companies start with quarterly time horizon, but then you definitely should make sure that these goals are connected to something strategic, and they're connected to the lower time horizon level as well, which is sprint within Scrum. So they should be connected as well.
Understood. Understood. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
In my experience, I could add Dennis' comments. There is only one company that I worked with have an OKR They call it ultimate OKR for 10 years. All other examples are cases they build OKR usually for a year and quarter perspective.
So to add to that, for example, we may have an OKR for about 5 years saying that get a market cap of X, or get to be the top 5 leaders in this, or in this particular segment or something of that sort for the next 5 years, right? That's a 5-year goal that is set up. But to achieve those 5-year goals, I need to do X by year 1, Y by year 2, 3 by year 3, and so on and so forth. And then you say, okay, what do I need to do now as in this part of this quarter, and get it down to that, right? So whether it is, when you come down to a quarter goal, of course, it can be a marketing goal, it can be a sales goal, it can be an operations goal, it can be whatever, but then it all aligns to the 5-year goal of attaining a certain level of whatever, right? Whatever that we set up for. So is that prevalent in the market? I mean, your experience, do people do like that, or pretty much they look at, what I have to do this year and what I have to do in this quarter? That is the question. So I got the answer. Thank
you. Would you add something?
Yeah. I don't count the percent of companies that have a strategy that lasts more than 1 year, but just thinking about.
I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, but we have 18 seconds left, and we're all gonna get kicked out of this room.
Yeah.
In short, it's about 20-30% of the company have a OKR strategy more than 1 year.
Understood.
Yeah, and actually, if you have this longer time horizon goals, then they should be in terms of outcomes. And if you try to put outputs there, then you will have to change them quite rapidly.
And usually companies do not use OKR terminology on this cadence. Someone using balanced scorecard, yes, to decompose their strategy. Someone just call it strategy goals, but don't use OKR. So OKR mainly in Russia used for tactical level and 1 year strategic level.
Understood. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All
okay,
right.
see you
very much, guys.
Hall.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Spasibo.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.